Well, since we've taken a look at Hoyas that have been here a year or longer this month, it's time to look at Hoyas that have been here for less than a year. So join me with a tasty beverage of your choice close to hand while we take a look at 3 and 6 month Hoya updates. And I'm happy to take this opportunity to send out a special thanks to Tessie7E, who sent me a super thanks and signed up for monthly coffees. That's very much appreciated. To DH3R147, who sent me a super thanks. And to Doreen, who bought me coffees recently. Your support for my channel goes a long way to keep me in Hoyas and Dischidias and other genera, maybe that's it, and in technology and infrastructure, and is very, very much appreciated. So thank you again for your support. And in bloom this week, we've got one of my favorites. I know I say that about a lot of them, but my long-suffering Hoya Ponderata Vietnam. This is, and when I say in bloom this week, that's like an ongoing thing. It's very pretty. I love the yellow blooms. I hope there will be, of course, close-ups. But yeah, those are very pretty. And right now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 peduncles that are getting ready to bloom or are just about to bloom. The leaves are very pretty. A little bit of splash on them and nice texture, just nice general overall shape. This one, if you've got a little bit of room for it, because it is something, it can get to be something of a big plant. It's beautiful. This poor beast has put up with a lot of less than ideal care. It got very front heavy, as you can imagine, and took a tumble off the shelf more than once and sparked right back. If it gets a little dry, give it a drink, it sparks right back. It's just, I think those leaves are very, very pretty. It just looks so nice trailing. I'm sure it would climb if you gave it a trellis, but the first time I saw it as a trailing plant, and that's just how I envisioned it going forward. But they're beautiful blooms, very, very pretty. That pale yellow, just, I really like it. There's a scent. Now it's late afternoon here, and the scent is not very strong. I can't put my finger on what it smells like. It smells a little herbal, a little grassy, not unpleasant, kind of fresh. Crisp might be a good word for it. But yeah, this is just a fun one. If you have a chance for Hoya Ponderata Vietnam, I would jump all over it because this has just been a joy to have. So yeah, this is Hoya Ponderata Vietnam. I've got a couple plants that have been here for 3 months, and the first one of them is Hoya vangviengiensis. Now, vangviengiensis is native to southern Yunnan in China and to Laos. It was first collected in 2010 in Vang Vieng, hence the name Vangviengiensis, Vientiane province in Laos. And it was collected by Michaela Rhoda and Nathaniel Simonson and published in 2012 in Webbia, Raccolta di Scritti Botanici, or Webbia, the collection of botanical writings. And these leaves, I think, are very, very pretty. The new leaves are looking like that. And when this one first arrived, I should have a picture of it because I think I was being good that day. It had this vine was very long. And I thought, that's just going to get knocked around and that's just not a good idea. So I clipped that off and set it to root. That's it. And it's putting out those cute little leaves. Let's see if I can lift this out of here without disaster ensuing. Oops. Okay, and there's roots on the bottom of that, so it's definitely time to pot that up. There's those new leaves. There's some new shoots. Let's see if I can, maybe from this side. There's another little growth point down in there. That's very cool. And this has put out this nice long vine with some handsome leaves. I like these leaves. They're very neat. The OG leaves are thick. They're almost rigid. Smooth and glossy on the top, maybe slightly pubescent on the bottom. There's a raised central rib, and the side veins are slightly raised. The older leaves have a bit of a cup shape to them. And I mean, that's 6 months growth. Got my handy dandy measuring tape. That is 17 inches or 43 centimeters of growth. And that's new growth in 3 months. So I think this one's going to do really well. I'm really happy with it, with both of them. You got to figure out how I can sneak that in there. That won't be a problem. I'll get a nice full pot of it with this in there too. So yeah, this is, I'd seen this on other channels and I kind of liked, I'd heard about it. I hadn't really paid much attention, but I liked the look when I saw it on channels. So these are about 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters wide, the leaves, and from petiole to tip is about 2.5 inches or just over 6, maybe almost 6.5 centimeters. I am really happy with this. Well, this one has just grown a treat. This is very cool. It's going to get an optimistic trellis, and I think it's going to make the two of them together are going to make a very, very pretty specimen plant. Yeah, this is very cool. Very happy with this one. These came from Phelsuma, P-H-E-L-S-U-M-A on Etsy, and this is Hoya vangviengiensis. Next up for 3 months, we've got Dischidia GPS 88. Now, the background of this is much of a mystery. It was originally sold as Hoya GPS 88, and GPS is the accession number for Gerard Paul Shirley. But when he was contacted, this is not what he has. It doesn't look like this. What he has is GPS 88, and he's a good record keeper. So yeah, somebody at some point slapped that accession number on this plant to make it more saleable, most probably. Those leaves are just beautiful. They are so cool. Raised central rib, raised side ribs, a dark I would almost say olive color. And when I got the cutting, and I should have a picture of what it looked like over here, I wasn't sure about it, how it was going to do. So I think, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong because there's a bunch of Hoyas in that room and Dischidia, that I decided to divide it and root them separately. So this one has done very well. I sent out a new vine, which is, just quickly, I'm going to say 14 inches or 36 centimeters long. And the other part was kind of pokey, but it is sending out a new growth point there and some new roots over on the original cutting. So, and this little guy has roots down there. So very soon he could go into a long-term residence. And this one has lots of roots down there. So he's ready to go. I may give it a couple weeks more so I can put them in together. I was at first not sure that these cuttings were going to make it. They clearly did. They just took a little bit longer than I expected them to root. So I really wanted this plant, so I ordered another one. And that one was a rooted plant. So it's going great guns. It's not quite at its time yet. Probably next month you'll get an update on it. But in the interim, the new one arrived. These started going great guns. I'm very pleased with that. I think that's just really pretty. I think that's really, really pretty Dischidia. And so, yeah, they're doing fine. They were a little bit slow to root, but not slow to grow once they got started. So, yeah, those little tiny leaves in there are just very neat. So, yeah, this one's been fun. I'm looking forward to this turning into a really lush plant. So, yeah, this one came from Gigi's Greenhouse on Etsy, and this is Dischidia GPS 88. I discovered the genus Oreosparte, one of the first acquisitions I made was Oreosparte sabaensis. Now, sabaensis is native to Malaysia, to the province of Sabah on the island of Borneo, near Tawau. Now, it was first collected in 2002 and published in 2020 in Wilde Neue Mitteilungen aus dem Botanischen Garten und Museum Berlin-Dahlem, which is messages from the Botanical Garden and Museum of Berlin-Dahlem, and it was published by Michaela Rhoda and Nathaniel Simonson. This has not disappointed me. This came, and I should have a picture, and I will put it in here. This came as one long cutting with that's an original leaf, and that's an original leaf, and this one is, and this one. And so I thought, if you're trying to root a long cutting like that, they can flop around and just not be in the best situation. For example, if it starts to send out roots and it gets moved around, then the roots can get torn off. So I decided to cut it into two. And that's really great. That's new growth in 6 months. And down in here, down in there, there's a new growth point on the other vine, the other part of the vine. The leaves are very pubescent, not thick like velvet, but and you'll see in the close-ups from the leaves, you can see the little hairs on the surface of them. Maybe it'll catch it on there. But this cutting has put out that much growth. There are 2 new leaves here. There's 2 new leaves about to come in here. There's 2 more down in there. This vine has put out these 2 leaves, there and there, and there's new growth on that tip. These are very, very pretty. The original leaves are firm. There's some flexibility to them. You could probably do that stupid thing with them, but you know, we don't do that because we don't want to damage our plants. This is just, I'm so thrilled with this one. I had no expectations. So this much growth in 6 months has been very cool. Right now it's growing under one of my Sansi grow lights, which is probably 24 inches, 30 centimeters above it. So it's getting fairly good light. The older leaves have not gone pale. So I think that's a good light setup for this one. Yeah, I'm so thrilled about this. This is so cool. Yeah, I have a couple other Oreosparte, but this is the first one that I have that's actually named. The others are just identified as species. So this is very cool. Nothing but good to say about this one. If you're up for something, a Hoya cousin, Oreosparte is a good way to go. And this one came from North Austin Plant Company, and you can find them on Palm Street. And this is Oreosparte sabaensis. Last week, and I'll put a link to it up here, last week's video, I talked about Hoya fitchii, and that my 2 fitchiis, the yellow and the regular one, were celebrating a 3-year anniversary. The replacement, the insurance policy, is celebrating a 6-month anniversary. Now, and that's it. This is it. Now, Hoya fitchii is native to the Philippines. It was first published in 2009 in Fraterna, Official Bulletin for the International Hoya Association, by Robert Dale Kloppenberg. And my other original fitchii, it struggled, and that was my fault. I had it in my typical bark and sphagnum mixture in a net pot and a cover pot, and that just didn't hold enough moisture for long enough. So the plant was drying out and it was struggling. So when the flat mites hit, they just wailed on that little puppy. It was sad to see, and I was very concerned that it wasn't going to survive. So, and I love the look of this plant, so I ordered another one. The leaves are very, very pretty. I love, and I've got this on a really optimistic trellis, so I got to watch out for the lights and stuff. But I love the look of them. The medium dark green leaves with the lighter green, almost lime green veins are, I think, very, very pretty. That's why I wanted this plant that's just, let's see if I can get this one in there without, where's it down there? There we go. It's just a beauty. The leaves right now are running about 2 1/4 inches or just about 6 centimeters long, petiole to tip, and about 3 centimeters or 1 1/8 inches wide. This has done very well. I should have over here a picture of what it looked like when it arrived. But I'm pretty sure most of this going around once is new. There's a new vine coming in over here. I think there were a couple cuttings in that pot, if I remember correctly, 2 or 3. One of them didn't make it, but the other 2 did, and they're growing quite happily. So I think in a very short time, this is going to be a very, very nice looking plant. It's currently growing very close to the Oreosparte sabaiensis. So it's under one of my Sansi grow lights, probably 24 inches to 30 centimeters, no, 60 centimeters away. It seems to like that. The leaves look fine. They don't look pale or distressed in any way, shape, or form. So that's very cool. It's in pond and self-watering. The roots have found the reservoir, at least on one of them. So yes, this is very cool. I'm very happy with this. When I saw how this was growing, it definitely called for an optimistic trellis. I think this is going to be a beautiful column of green leaves in no time whatsoever. So yeah, it has not bloomed for me yet, not this one and not the original one I have, nor the yellow one. But I have hopes for this one and its predecessor, or not predecessor because it's still with us, but the guy who got here earlier, within the next year, I'm hoping. So yeah, this is very cool. I think this is really gorgeous and it has done very well. So this one came from Plant Haven, Toronto, and this is Hoya fitchii. And the next one here for 6 months is Hoya rigidifolia. Now, rigidifolia is native to Indonesia, to the island of Sumatra, Western Sumatra, and the Mentawai Islands. And it was found at a height of 100 meters. So I would guess it's sort of a warmer, I mean, that's not terribly high and cool, but it was first collected in 2016 and published in 2019 in the European Journal of Taxonomy by Sri Rahayu and Michaela Rhoda. And the first time I saw this on Miro's channel years ago, I wanted one. There's a central recessed rib, and then there's 2 more ribs that are recessed that parallel the edges of the leaf. See if it will show up in that. And I thought that was so pretty. So I had one, and it did fairly well until it got in a place where I couldn't see it. Most of my plants, when I walk past the shelves in the plant room, I can see most of them just with a cursory look around. But this one was, not this one, but it was behind something else, and I lost track of it. And it dried out, and it looked very, very sad. So I took some cuttings from that one. They were so sad looking, I wasn't sure it was going to survive, and went ahead and ordered one. And that one did not do well. It developed some kind of weird, I'm going to say fungus or something, like within days of its arrival here. So it's not something it picked up here. The seller was fantastic about it. They refunded the whole purchase, no questions asked. They were just like on it. As soon as they found out about it, they were on it. So they were so good, I went back and ordered another one from them, and that's what you see. And this has just done, I think, very, very well. Now, the cuttings from my other plant actually bounced back. It took a while. So that one, I'm going to send up a trellis. I was thinking originally to let this one trail, but I'm a mixed feeling because I think that on a trellis another trellis would look very pretty, and I could possibly pot them all together. I don't know. I'm debating it, but I think those leaves are really beautiful. I think they're very unique. They are firm, like on the upper end of firm, especially the older leaves. The older leaves are bordering on rigid. They measure from petiole to tip. We're looking at 5 and 4.5 to 5 inches, or around 12 centimeters, and about 3/4 of an inch wide, or about 2 centimeters wide. They have a little bit of splash on them, which you might be able to see in there. A nice color. This one's growing near the Oreosparte sabaensis, and vangviengiensis lives over there. So it's getting a decent amount of light, but it's not cooking it. So that's fine. I think this is just a really, really pretty plant. If you're looking for some green that has very unique, very pretty leaves, I would definitely recommend Hoya rigidifolia. This one came from Gabriella Plants at their website, and this is Hoya rigidifolia. Next, it's another one I'm very happy about. This is my Hoya leucantha. Now, leucantha is native to New Guinea. It was first collected in 1912, 1913 by Cecil Bodenclaus in the Papua province on the island of New Guinea in Indonesia, near the Utakwa River at a height of 500 feet. So it's not a cool growing Hoya. It was first published in 1916 in Transactions of the Linnean Society of London by Spencer Le Marchant Moore, and the remarks on the herbarium sheet say New Guinea, so that's probably where Westerners found it for their first time. I'm sure the people that lived there knew all about it. Leucantha actually means white flowered, and that's how it got its name, because the flowers are supposedly white. It hasn't bloomed for me yet. This one has just done so well. I should have pictures of what the cutting looked like when it first arrived. I don't remember if it was a cutting or a rooted plant, but it has branched. It has put out this new vine, so that's all new. I had some dieback on the tip, probably because I kept bumping into it where it was. But it put out another vine of its own. Those leaves are lush, and I think very pretty. I love the leaf structure. It reminds me sort of the Ponderata Vietnam we saw earlier, but really reminds me of Burmanica and even Brassii, Hoya Brassii. They're very, very, let's see if I can get a good, there'll be close-ups of them, of course, but there's a little bit of texture in them. There's a slightly recessed central rib. As I said, a little bit of texture. The original leaves are a beautiful dark green. I mean, it's like, I think that's very cool green color. Not cool green, but you know, it's a neat green color. And the new leaves come in much paler, and then they progressively get darker. I am so pleased about this. This one I'm going to let hang, going to let it trail. It's something, I mean, I'm sure it would look equally gorgeous climbing. Actually, even doing that would look very pretty climbing. but I think, I might be changing my mind as we speak. But I think, well, I can always take a cutting and give a try with a cutting. I think I'm going to let this one trail a little bit, like the Bermanica and the Ponderata, because I think that would be very pretty. The blossoms are lovely. I've seen pictures of them. I have not seen them in person yet, if you're listening. But yeah, I've been very happy with this. This was a nice plant when it arrived, and it has not disappointed. So very cool. Yeah, that's just like, yeah, happy with this one. This was a good purchase. This one came from the Hoya Habit on Etsy, and this is Hoya leucantha. The next 6-month resident is Hoya Noona. And with a name like Noona, we know it's a hybrid. Now, I haven't been able to find out too much about it. It is rumored to be a hybrid of David Kamingii and Hushkeliana. And to me, that sounds like a super winning combination. I love the blossoms on David Kamingii. They're pretty, but I love the scent. It's heady and cinnamon, nutmeggy, kind of like, oh, yeah, it's just like, it. When you smell it, it grabs your attention. You always, because of the way the plant grows, you don't always see the blossoms. They're sometimes like underneath the leaves, but you definitely smell them. You know they're there. And Hushkeliana, for me, has been blooming. My inner variegated has been blooming for the last 9 months, pretty much nonstop. And those blooms smell like hot buttered popcorn. So I think that combo sounds like a winner. Now, I should have pictures of what this looked like when it first arrived. And I cleaned it off and transferred it to pon. And it sat for a little bit and got its roots going. And then it pushed out pretty much that new growth. So that's, I'm going to say, that's 4 inches or about 10 centimeters of new growth in 6 months. The leaves are nothing fancy. I mean, they are what they are. The blossoms, I've seen pictures of the blossoms. They're beautiful yellow bell-shaped blossoms. So that's very neat. I'm excited to smell them. That sounds weird, but I've said weirder. So I'm interested to experience their scent. But I think a full pot of this trailing, I like the way Hoya David Kamingii looks when it trails, and I have mine in a wall-mounted pot. And it's a nice full waterfall of these dark green leaves. So I think this, growing in a similar situation, although I didn't put it in a wall pot, but I think it's going to look very, very nice. I'm pleased with what's happened in the intervening 6 months. So yeah, that's very neat. This one, Hoya Noona, came from Plant Haven, Toronto, on their website. And again, this is Hoya Noona. Question for the comments this week. Well, let's talk about last week's. So I asked what plant you give away or sell cuttings of that you're fairly sure that a new Hoya person can handle and will do well for them. And I'm not disappointed, but it was as I expected. It was Carnosa and Pubicalyx, hands down, and the typical classic Hoyas. Also, Crimson Princess was on that list too, and Crimson Queen, I think. But it was, the ones that you would expect, the ones that are classic Hoyas. And as I said several times in the comments, and I frequently say, those classic Hoyas are classic for a reason. So yeah, they may not bloom right away, but they'll survive and they'll grow for somebody. So now to the question. And my question is kind of, again, interesting, but I think it would be interesting. Tell me something that surprises you about either Hoya or Dischidia or Oreosparte or Papua Hoya, if you happen to have any, but something that surprised you about the plant. And just one thing, because we Hoya heads know that there's a whole bunch of surprising and amazing things about these plants, which is why we collect them. But one thing, and I'm going to start, my one thing is how easy Hoyas are to grow. When I first started, everyone talked about needing special equipment and all this other stuff, and they were fussy and finicky and everything else. And none of that was true. Hoyas are easy. They're so easy. That's what surprised me the most. None of that other foolishness about them being difficult and finicky and, oh, you had to have a magic touch. None of that is true. They're easy. For me, they're easier than most any other plant. I can't grow a Monstera, but I can grow a Hoya. So, explain that one. So yeah, in the comments below, tell us one thing, share one thing that really surprises you or has surprised you about growing Hoya. And as always, I want to thank you for choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me this week's end. Please remember the thumbs up like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. They're all ways of helping my channel out. A lot of the products that you may have seen me use are available through my Amazon storefront. I get a small commission on the sales from the storefront, and it doesn't increase your price, but it is a way of helping support the channel. If you're in the market for grow lights, there's a link in the description to the Sansi LED lights page. And if you use my code, Planted in RI, you receive a 30% discount from the prices listed there. And I'm very happy with my Sansi lights so far. If you'd like to support the channel, there's also a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee page. Or there's a 3 dots button down here, thanks, something like that, down in this lower corner. And YouTube handles all the thanks button related stuff. Again, there's going to be links to a couple more videos over here on the side. And please enjoy the rest of your week's end.